What's going on, Bulls Nation? Hello again. Welcome in to CHGO Bulls Pregame, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook. Download their app. Be sure to use promo code CHGO when you sign up. I'm Peck. You can follow me on Twitter at Bulls_Peck. My guys, Big Dave at BAWL Sports. Will, the GOAT, Will_Gottlieb. Joey Spathis, our pal and producer, at Joey Spathis, Joey1K. We are CHGO_Bulls. This is show 2 of a 3-show Thursday, gentlemen.
Double dose.
Here we are, still at our CHGO West Loop Studios. Bulls, deadline, no action. Taking on the Nets tonight. Very different looking Nets team than the first few times these teams played this season. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later. But first thing we must address is that between our trade deadline special ending and now, Bulls VP Artūras Karnišovas spoke to the media over there in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
Around a little over an hour ago, he fielded some questions about the Bulls not doing anything on deadline day.
Okay.
Just a shot in the dark. I feel like Bulls fans have an opinion or two about some of the things that were said by Artūras Karnišovas.
That's not like them.
Bulls fans?
Yeah.
Never have opinions.
No.
Never have strong opinions about anything.
No. They don't do that.
Yes, Mark, these guys again. We're here. I'm still a little broken.
Really?
I thought maybe,
took
a little walk.
Yeah, I'm good now.
Before the Artūras talk, cleared my head a little bit.
No, I'm good now. I'm focused on getting to the playoffs now. Like I'm good now.
How do you adapt that quickly?
I'm good. Like, dude, what's I'm gonna do? Stay in there?
Yes.
I die that way.
Wallow with us for a little longer, won't you?
No, I'm good.
Sink down into the pit of despair.
I'm good.
There's plenty of space down here in this pit, Dave.
I'm okay. I'm moving on. Like let's go to the playoffs.
All right. Well, if you think of it sometime, just throw a rope or a ladder down.
I'm about to say, I'll toss you some food down there. I'll toss you a wheel, couple food.
You got any of those French fries left?
Yeah, I got some fries there.
I'd have a fry.
You like a fry?
I'd have a fry.
I got you. A fry, yes. He needs a fry, just one. I'll throw a basketball down so you can work on your J.
I need to.
Yeah. Get your J right. But yeah, man.
Somebody's got to shoot threes for this team.
Yeah, hello.
Okay. Wanted to go over a couple of thoughts that AK shared in his session with the media out there in Brooklyn, starting with his opening comments about why they did not make any trades. Joey, if you please. We were pretty active at the trade deadline, he said. It just didn't seem like there were deals for us to make to improve this group. At the end of the day, we decided to go with this group for the next 28 games. I think this group showed some resiliency and improvement this year. He went on immediately after that talking about those improvements being beating good teams as opposed to last year, flipping the script on that where they couldn't beat the good teams, talking about the Bulls fighting back in games where they have deficits. So he was trying to come up with a couple of examples of where he's seen improvement.
Yeah.
But I'm sorry, that quote is that quote. And he's saying or trying to claim that he's seeing improvement on a team that's 2 games below 500, whereas this time last year, on our way into the All-Star break, you're holding the number 1 seed in the East.
Yeah. It's weird. So,
very active at the deadline, just didn't do anything at the deadline.
That's not active. Active is what the Lakers were. Like, that's active. You have to
actively
do the things.
taking calls.
You know what I mean? Taking calls and, doing that. I'm sure that's what he means by being active, but we needed to actually see the deal for us to feel like it was active and things like that. But yeah, man, like I think I'm more interested in what Will has to say. If he thought that it was business as usual or if you got something different out of that from AK. For me, it was, okay, you want to win. You telling me again mediocrity is not acceptable, but your team is right there as far as the mediocre is concerned. You tell me you were active, but nobody was added. You tell me you're happy with the team, but then tell me you'll still be active at the buyout. So, it's kind of all over the place, and that's fine. You know what I mean? Because, again, I understand the Bulls. Some of these things, the Bulls are in a weird position. Maybe they couldn't make these deals or they didn't have the right assets to get these deals done or whatever the case may be. But I just know that what you needed, you didn't get. And what you've needed for a majority of this season, you didn't get taken care of. And now our hope is the buyout to see if they can do something.
Yeah, I mean, we're at the point where it's like, all right, you've made your bed. You've bet on yourself. You've done it twice, and now 3 times you've bet on yourself.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens. And he said, we're not okay with mediocrity, and we expect to be in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Those are stated explicit goals. Mm-hmm. Let me just say, I looked up the definition of mediocre.
Oh, okay.
Of only moderate quality. Not very good. Okay, synonyms include ordinary, common, commonplace, indifferent, average. The Bulls are 26 and 28. Uh-huh. I would call that pretty much the definition of mediocre. So unless they think that there's some way out of that on their roster, then they probably should have made a move. But they didn't, and so they're going to have to work their way out of it.
Fair.
And that was the message that I got from Artūras in this press conference was, we're not okay with being mediocre, but we've seen that we're trending upwards. I'm not sure I buy that, but that's his argument. That's his bet on himself. Fine. And, they wanted to be buyers. He said, we wanted to be buyers, but at what cost? The price seemed to be too high for whatever they were going for. Sounds like they got some calls on their star players, be it Caruso, Zach, DeMar, or Vooch.
Yeah.
Never explicitly stated, but it's got to be one of those guys. But they wanted to be buyers. So that's who they are. That's who they want to be. Could they have done something to upgrade even further? Maybe. Who knows? But the stated goal is to be better than mediocre and to be in the playoffs.
Yes.
So now you've got 28 games to make that happen.
And he continually said that, like, we have 28 games to improve. Let's see what happens. He kept saying that was one of the main talking points for him. So that's what it is. 28 left. Let's see what happens. See where the Bulls are standing after that.
It's just hard to believe that he believes something is going to be different in those final 28 games. 28 games is a smaller sample size than the collection of games you've played so far this season with this group of players. You're now saying we're keeping this same group together and mediocrity is not okay. We want to improve upon our finish last year. The sample size of 50-something, 54, 55 games, you know what you had coming into this, which is why he said we were active.
Yeah.
In the sense of at least looking to see if we could improve upon this roster.
Yeah.
So you're basically admitting that it's not good enough as is. But, we didn't see any deals that we liked, so we're just going to rock with this. You're going to rock with this that's proven to you night after night to be not good enough?
Yeah.
How can you say that and then also say out of the other side of your mouth, mediocrity is not good enough?
Yeah.
That's the part that drives me crazy.
The one thing that he kind of touched on, there's a couple things. One is he made a comment about how some of the powers in the East got shifted towards the West. That's obviously a nod to Kevin Durant going to the Suns and to Kyrie Irving going to the Mavericks.
Right, but so that's one team in the East.
One team.
Maybe getting worse, but already has a huge win-loss advantage on the Bulls in the standings.
And then on top of that, you have 9 of the other 10 teams in the play-in race and playoff race improving. So I'm not sure I buy that part of it. He says that the Bulls have been competitive, that they have shown some resiliency, and through playing more competitive games against good teams, shown him that they can get to the level that they want to. We'll see. That's the 28 games part.
Exactly. Correct.
And personally, we've seen more than 28 games of this same group not being able to do that. So I'm skeptical.
Yeah, of course.
But we've passed the trade deadline.
Sure.
The time is now to look at these 28 games and see if Artūras is right about himself.
Yeah, that's where we're at. That's all we can do. You know what I'm saying? Is wait and watch these 28 games. Again, which is why my whole mindset is shifted to let's go ahead and make the playoffs, because obviously that is what the mindset is of Artūras and Mark Eversley, is they want to make the playoffs, and that is the goal. With mediocrity and all the other stuff, fine, but they want to go to the playoffs, period, point blank. So let's reach that goal then. Let's do that, and that goal kind of starts tonight against the Nets.
The thing, Joey, do you have that other quote from AK about the trade market and sort of like the landscape of the trade market? Not that one, the other one.
Landscape.
there were so many buyers, there were so many teams that didn't want to take a step back, including us. So we tried to improve our team, but at what cost? That's what you were just referencing, Will. Mm-hmm. And that price was not okay with us. So if he's referencing price there, to me, that means them looking to be buyers, not sellers.
Sure.
Like, it's our price that we're setting if you're talking about them selling off pieces. The price to improve, those prices are not okay. Well, look around all of the other teams in the NBA that made trades today. Mm-hmm. Plenty of them decided that the prices were okay.
Yeah.
So what prevented you from deciding that those prices were okay?
Yeah, I'm curious.
I saw somebody in the comments, Colin, mentioning our pal Hayes, talking about the fact that Bones Highland was had for 2 second-rounders. And is that all that cost? You were talking to me earlier this afternoon after our deadline about Luke Kennard and the fact that he was gotten for, what, three second-rounders?
3 second-rounders.
You know, some of those trades that we were laughing at going around with 5 second-round picks, that's a lot of second-round picks.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, if you could – if like a shooter like Luke Kennard was out there to be had for a couple second-round picks, is that a price you're not okay with?
Yeah.
And then, of course, because I'm me and I'm a cynical ass.
What?
When I hear AK say that, my first thought is AK BSing us or is AK carrying water for his bosses when he's talking about prices not being okay with us?
Interesting.
How many times do we mention the luxury tax on that trade deadline special and the fact that the Bulls were handicapped with what they maybe could or could not do today, knowing that they weren't going over it?
Well, I think part of that is the price not being okay with us means we're not willing to give up our 2027 and 2029 draft picks.
Right.
On top of that, if you're trying to improve your team, the way you got to do that is by trade. And the way that you make a trade is you match salaries. And the Bulls don't really have any tradable salaries right now. Mm-hmm. They have Kobe White, who gets you to $7 million. You could tack in Derek Jones or Drummond, each of which are $3 million. But if you're trying to find an impact player, it's going to be very difficult to do that without moving one or multiple of Zach, DeMar, Vooch, Lonzo, Caruso. Right. And maybe they move one of those guys. Obviously, it didn't seem like they wanted to.
Sure.
But the cost of one or two of those guys plus maybe a prospect or like Io, who's a cheaper contract, plus draft picks to go get somebody like Kevin Durant, completely just spitballing an example here. But like that, I think that's what he's talking about when he's saying the price was too high. We didn't want to give up multiple young players, a player on a good salary, and draft picks to go get somebody that could really take us to another level.
Okay, that's interesting. How you ended that was interesting. To say you don't want to give that up for a player that can get you to another level.
Because it might, bite them in the ass if they don't have Caruso after that.
True. But it's been biting them in the ass all season, even having him and shit like that. I'm not saying that to disagree with you. I'm just saying that what it is. But yeah, man, it's just that there were things to be had, and I think that's the frustrating part. Is you're watching the party. You know what I mean? You're watching the party happen in front of you, and everybody's going, and you don't. It's not like you can't go, but you don't like your shoes, so you don't go. You know what I'm saying? Like, but you like, dude, like you can still go to the party and see what happens. Nah, you know what I mean? I don't like it. I don't want it. And that's kind of what it feels like when you're one of two teams, that don't do it, and you can apply logic as to why the other team didn't.
Yeah.
I can easily tell you why Cleveland didn't do it. It makes all the sense in the world. They made their move already.
They have no draft picks.
Exactly.
You want a different pair of shoes? Then you could go.
Nah.
No, we're not interested in that either.
Yeah, I don't like those shoes either. You know what I mean? I don't like them. Got a speck of dirt on them. Well, you clean them off. A little work.
Not my style.
Not my thing. I just like putting the money going. But yeah, like even that, like you said, they had no draft picks. They made their move, and they're winning. and the things are clicking for them. So, of course, they'll make that move.
Also, I know things get crazy in the last X amount of hours leading up to the deadline when you're taking a lot of calls and making calls. And maybe pivoting this aggressively is easier said than done.
Sure.
But hypothetically speaking, if the Bulls front office, when they were very active leading up to the deadline, saw that the market was dictating prices that made them uncomfortable to be buyers, then what's to stop you from pivoting and say, okay, well, this roster we have together right now, we kind of see that it's not good enough. We can't add to it comfortably as far as what the asking price is because there are so many buyers out there right now.
Yeah.
So maybe we choose now as the opportunity to pivot the other direction and sell off a couple of these pieces to set ourselves up for next season and beyond.
And I think that
I know it's a tight window of time to make those decisions, but it's not impossible. That's why they pay these people, right? To make these difficult decisions and to execute.
Yeah, I think that's where you are losing some of your ability to improve the team longer term when you are not willing to pivot the other direction.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about whatever the Bulls do, they need to maximize value.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are trying to get better for the sake of getting better, that's fine.
Sure.
I'm 100% okay with that.
Absolutely.
But if you're unwilling to pay the price for that, which, let's be real, they've done that in the past. They have paid the price and then some to try to go get better.
Yes.
So we know what can happen if they go too far.
Mm-hmm.
But if the plan is still to be better, and I think part of that is because you have expectations for yourself, but also you've committed draft capital to a team, and so you're not going to get that draft pick this year, I understand why they would not want to be bad. But to your point, that doesn't preclude them from trying to go the other direction and extract value that way.
Yeah.
He said there were a lot of buyers out there. That means a lot of teams were looking to spend draft capital and or young players to go get stars. And the Bulls have 4 guys that would have been really, really attractive, coveted by a lot of other teams. So they did that. They held firm in spite of that. And it seems like, based on what Artūras said, that, you know, we got a lot of calls. We think we can basically flip those guys in the summer if we need to.
Right. Correct.
Okay, fine.
Right.
We'll see what happens these next 28 games. I think that's pretty much his philosophy right now, is like, we weren't prepared to go downhill, but we expect to make the playoffs. We've got some really attractive assets to other teams. And if we don't make the playoffs, our stated goal, then we'll have to revisit.
And all of that makes complete sense. All of that is logical until you tell me beforehand that you want to win and mediocrity is not acceptable.
Yeah.
All of that is true. Every single bit of that makes 100% sense and exactly what I think. You know what I'm saying? It makes sense. But that's the conflict for me, is when you've told me before the season, this ain't acceptable. This is what we want to do, and this is what we're going to go after to do it. When you don't put your all into doing that, then I get confused. Then I can't logically defend it, because you've already shown me that you're not logically defending it yourself. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of where I got lost at.
And I think that is 100% true, but I also think they kind of moved the goalposts.
Yes, correct.
And what's happening now is it's not going to be we're going to be better than we were last year. It's going to be we're going to try to make the playoffs.
Right.
And if we can't do that, then we'll revisit things. And so if they had stayed on this trajectory of trying to be what they said they wanted to be at the start of the year, they may have thrown in additional assets to get somebody. Right. That would be the incentive to try to go get better.
Yeah.
But right now, I think they're just close enough to say, we believe in what we have right now. We're 15-10 in our last 25. We're the 8th best defense in the league.
He said these things.
Let's go forth and bet on ourselves. And I think that is where you have to, you need to reframe your position, not you specifically, but just like we have to reframe our position now to say, all right, this is the bet you're making.
Right.
Let's see what happens, Artūras.
Let's see it.
And I mean, it's tricky. I know Bulls fans are spending a lot of time today trying to figure out who to be upset with the most, because Bulls fans are upset today, and we have a right to be. AK saying something like mediocrity is not okay. We're not accepting mediocrity. And we're all sitting here saying, well, this is mediocre. Will just read you the definition of the word. 26 to 28. Yeah. I do believe genuinely that Artūras Karnišovas as a man and as a person who works in basketball and who has worked in basketball and is passionate about basketball his entire life, dating back to his days as a pro, wants to be good in this role, wants to prove that the Bulls were right to take a chance and hire him, promoting him from his level that he was at in Denver.
Right.
He wants to win.
Yeah.
He wants to build a winner.
There's no doubt.
So I believe him when he says, I don't want to accept mediocrity.
Right.
But you know who is okay with mediocrity? His bosses. That's the part that I keep coming back to when we have these big picture conversations.
That was
the owner of this team is on record saying, ideal scenario, have your team keep finishing in second. So your fans always have that carrot dangled in front of them. Keep them wanting more. Profitable mediocrity. Those are the two key words for the people who run this team. And it makes me sick. Makes me sick every freaking day, but especially on days like today, because I want to believe that Artūras doesn't want to accept mediocrity.
Right.
And I'm frustrated that he didn't make any moves today. And I'm not saying that he couldn't have made any moves today solely because of the ways that he has been hamstrung by the people who are his bosses.
Right.
I'm saying, God, when your VP of basketball ops says we can't accept mediocrity, but you know in the back of your mind that that's all ownership cares about, you feel stuck. You genuinely feel stuck.
I have a question.
I want to push back on that a little bit because I don't think Jerry and Michael Reinsdorf are saying, let's go out and be mediocre. I think they're saying...
Well, they don't say it every day, but that's how they feel.
Well, who knows how they feel. But my point is, like, the restrictions that they're putting on Artūras, and we don't know this for a fact, but what we're guessing is they want to make the playoffs. They said, Artūras, go make the playoffs. And they said, don't go into the tax while you do it. And so with those restrictions, it becomes very difficult to be anything more than mediocre unless you have some incredible luck in some way. And you could say the Bulls have been unlucky. There's an argument to be made that they have been very lucky, and I'm going to be writing about that now. But that's just the small window that they have to work with. And so I don't think they're like actively striving for mediocrity, but it just makes it that much more difficult when the parameters are so strict.
Joey, you have something you want to add?
No, I mean, I was just going to ask, like, you know, we don't want the Bulls to be mediocre, so would we have been okay for them taking a step back in terms of competing this season, in terms of being, you know, with the long-term goal of being competitive in the future? Because, I mean, it seems like that was the most likely scenario. Like, because we're upset about the inactivity at the trade deadline, but it seems like if there was going to be some activity, then it would have been mediocre, at least for this season, because you're sort of saying, you know, we're waving the white flag when it comes to making a real
but I think
chance at competing.
The issue right now, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the way that most fans are probably feeling is not only did we not do anything to get better, not only did we not do anything to try to set ourselves up better for the future, but in not doing anything, we still have no avenues to improve because we don't have our draft pick, because we don't have our draft pick in 2025, and because one of our star players is going to be a free agent.
So just the hypothetical Knicks trade that we were talking about that was reported maybe that they were engaged in talks for Zach LaVine. If you probably aren't keeping that top 4 protected pick this spring anyway, and you can make a trade like that to regather some of your draft capital and add a few young players to this younger core of guys like Pat, Io, Dalen Terry, and still maybe be competitive enough to make the play-in without Zach LaVine. But you keep DeMar, you keep Vooch, and then you roll the dice that way and still set yourself up.
Couldn't agree more.
For making a change now to start that pivot for next season and beyond.
That's what I was
What was preventing them from doing that today?
Very much agree. I'm just wanted to clarify for everyone listening that that's, you know, we were okay with them because it wouldn't have been like a total tank or towards mediocrity.
And Will, you wrote about that like last week, saying that if the Bulls do steer that seller's direction, it doesn't necessarily mean that we would be in for the same 5-year going nowhere rebuild that we just got out of.
Correct.
Yeah, and if you execute better, it's not going to go as bad.
Right.
Like, I think, for me, the reason why I think a lot of fans and probably ownership, to a certain extent, doesn't want to go through another rebuild is because of how poorly the first one went.
Sure, absolutely.
And it doesn't have to go that bad.
Right.
We talked about it today. Like, the right way to do it is how teams like the Spurs and the Jazz and the Magic have done it, which is accumulating multiple draft picks, multiple bites at the apple, and young players who are already decent to try to improve down the road. The Bulls didn't do that. They got Zach LaVine, Chris Dunn, and Lauri Markkanen, then the value of their own pick that next year. So that's not good enough.
Right.
If you're gonna do it, you gotta go all in, and they didn't, and that's how you end up where the Bulls are now.
All right.
We got to give a quick shout out to DraftKings. We'll come back and quick shift of focus to the fact that the Bulls actually have to play a basketball game tonight.
Yes.
And we'll talk about what the Nets are up to.
Let's go win.
DraftKings Sportsbook. NBA fans, time to bring the hoops action to the palm of your hand with DraftKings Sportsbook, official betting partner of the NBA, our official betting partner at CHGO. This week, new customers can bet $5 and win $200 in bonus bets instantly. Plus, for a limited time, all new and existing DraftKings customers can get a no-sweat same-game parlay. Go to DraftKings Sportsbook, opt in, place a same-game parlay on any NBA game, and if it doesn't hit, you'll get a bonus bet back. A risk-free parlay. Beautiful. So download that app. Be sure to use that promo code CHGO. It's up there in the top right corner of your screen. Again, $5 bets from new customers on any NBA game, and you can get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Only at DraftKings Sportsbook. All right, guys. Brooklyn Nets, real quick.
Yeah.
Traded away Kyrie Irving.
They did.
Traded away Kevin Durant.
They also did this.
So much for that.
Yeah, it's done. It's in the back.
The KD, Kyrie, Harden Nets, I believe, played just 16 games together after all of that.
That's so wild.
And now Ben Simmons is looking around Brooklyn like, But I think most people saw those trades and the returns that they got for collectively Kyrie and KD and said, hey, man, this Nets team could still, maybe they'll drop off a little bit without Kevin Durant, arguably the best player in the NBA still.
Sure.
But they got talent. They got good now talent in those trades.
Yeah.
As far as tonight's game, what the Bulls are facing, the pieces that they got from Phoenix in the KD trade, clearly not in Brooklyn and suited up yet. However, I did see one of the Nets reporters on Twitter about an hour ago confirm that from the Dallas trade, Spencer Dinwiddie and Dorian Finney-Smith, available and active, will make their Nets debuts against the Bulls tonight. I guess for Dinwiddie, it would be his this season Nets debut.
Correct.
Part deux.
So
look, I don't think the Bulls can come into this one being like, oh, no KD, no Kyrie. Cool, we got this.
Right.
But the Bulls are 2-0 against the Nets this season.
They are.
Now it's a very different Nets team.
Yeah.
Cam Thomas, what?
Cam Thomas has been going absolutely insane. But, yeah, a whole different kind of team, a whole different thing. You see the numbers right there for that man. Cam.
Holy Lord.
Oh,
those are his
Cam.
averages over the last 3 games.
That is dumb. He is the first player to do that, I believe, since Allen Iverson.
Yep.
At that age that
the
he
youngest
is.
person
Yes,
to
the
do so
youngest
since
to do
AI.
it.
I saw
Right.
that. Also,
Which
that
is
90% shooting from the free throw line,
Yeah.
that is on 40 free throws in 3 games.
Insane. Those splits are crazy. Not just the 56 from the field, but the 56 from 3.
56,
Yeah.
90.
Yeah, you're getting. I'm giving him a couple fouls. Is all I'm telling you. He gets a couple fouls. Somebody's going to beat you tonight. Just don't let it be him. Like, please don't let that happen. But he's been special these past 3 games. To go from your bench, I think that's what makes it such a great story, is to go from the bench and nobody speaking about you or looking at you or even talking to you, and then to come in and immediately lose your mind, go crazy like that. Says something about him. Also says something about Jacques Vaughn as well, as a coach as well. But, yeah, man, adding Spencer to that and Dorian Finney-Smith to that's a problem. You know, that kind of makes them a little bit formidable. And knowing that they have that cushion that they have, you know, after winning 18 out of their last 21,
right?
Knowing they have that 4-game lead that they have kind of house money for a little bit. You know what I'm saying? That they can play with until they find their footing. And to have Cam Thomas be the guy while you're finding your footing right now, that's pretty cool.
Well, the thing I love about what the Nets did was they stocked up on some of the most valuable player archetypes in the NBA.
Okay.
Long, switchable 3-and-D wings.
Your favorites?
You got Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal. I mean, the list goes on. And so those guys are great to have around if you're going to go out and use the treasure trove of draft picks that you just got to go bring in a star, or you flip those guys for multiple first-round picks each.
Yeah.
So they are set up really well. They pushed a lot of those picks that they are getting from the Suns and from the Mavericks down to 2027 and 2029. I think they're set up well to be competitive now and maintain that that fifth spot, or at least playoff spot, while also having huge upside down the rest of the decade.
It is wild, though. I mean, you mentioned that crazy hot streak they went on, Dave.
Yeah.
Where they won like 18 of 20 games or whatever.
21.
And
21.
And now
21.
And now we're here because even in
Joey.
spite of that success, that team success, Kyrie took one more look around and was like, no, you know what? I think I'm done.
Yeah.
I think I'm done being here.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to
even
journey
with the
on.
wins, right? Even with all that winning, you know.
Right. And maybe some
Still.
of that was him getting piecing it together that Brooklyn was not fully on board with the idea of giving him a max contract after this
that's
season.
the hugest thing, yes.
He just picked up that player option because that was guaranteed money, and he wasn't getting that level of guaranteed money anywhere else last summer.
Sure.
And then KD being like, okay, well, if he's out, I'm out too.
Yeah.
Just they were winning every game.
But it's wild because remember how it started, and then they were winning, but that kind of didn't go away. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? How it felt.
So much for the whole winning solves everything.
Right, exactly.
You know.
Still was a problem because even before the season started, KD was like, trade me.
Right.
So they still had that, hanging over them, man. So they had issues, but hey, they got those two guys out of there. This is the brand new team. They still have a great shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah.
And they're still very formidable. That's some really solid young talent.
Yeah, not just Cam Thomas. The other person that I'm worried about tonight is Claxton, who's having a really, really
he's been
solid
having a monster
He is
time, man.
I just like
He's
how
out?
He and Curry are both out.
season. He and Curry are both out?
Yeah.
All right, well, you know what that means. Bulls lost.
I liked how Kyrie said in his press conference last night, or in his interview, he said, the Claxton thing just really threw me off.
I mean,
He said, when they asked him about Kevin Durant, and he said, I'm just, I'm looking forward to getting to see him more now that he's going to be in the Western Conference. You have been teammates for 4 years. Looking forward to getting to see him more. You've been off the team for 3 days.
feels like a lifetime.
Maybe he was pulling the Jimmy Buckets and getting dressed not in the locker room with the rest of his teammates.
Oh, wow, the shot. Man, Matt is just throwing them at everybody today.
What's up, Jimmy?
Everybody getting it today.
All right, it's tip-off time here in Chicago.
It is.
Or over there in Brooklyn, I should say.
is.
We will be right back here for postgame, show 3 of this 3-show Thursday. Thanks for watching show number 2. Do us a favor, hit that thumbs up button if you were watching along with us on YouTube. Helps us out a lot. We will see you for postgame for Joey, the GOAT, Big Dave, Peck. All right.
Let's go win.
28 games. Here's one of 28.
Let's go win. Peace.
That's right.